All right, welcome to the Breaking Bio Podcast, episode 5. Today is Friday, the 21st of September. I'm your host, Stephen Hamblin from the University of New South Wales. With me today are Morgan.
Hi, I'm an entomologist at the University of Guelph, and it's only the 20th here where I am.
Yes, well, you live in the past. That's Morgan Jackson, and with us also are Raphael.
Also from the past, I'm in Akron, Ohio, a PhD student in integrated bioscience.
It's been about a month, eh? Since we last talked?
Too long. I've missed you all.
We missed you too.
That's
Not really. I saw you 2 days ago.
Screw you, Raphael.
Actually, you know, that's a good point. We should plug that. Since I'm sitting here with the co-coordinators of the Evolutionary Biology Journal Club. So, Raphael, why don't you tell the people a little about it?
All right, so I guess this kind of started when I was ranting on Twitter that I was vicariously following other labs' lab meeting when they posted it in blogs and websites and stuff like that. Because a couple of months ago, I tried starting a journal club here at my university, and I got the whopping response of 0 people interest. So, yeah, that was a little bit depressing. So I was ranting about it. I was ranting about it on Twitter as usual, and then Morgan was like, "Why don't we start an online journal club?" And I didn't really have a better answer to that than why not. And
well, the response for the first effort was pretty good. You guys happy with it?
Oh, for sure. We had a huge number of people check out the blog, which you can see on my nice little down there. So if you go check it out, you can read about what we're doing and what's coming up, and you can actually view this week's first session on there as well. But yeah, we had I think more people check out that blog in the first 3 days and join up and hope to get it than I had in like the first 3 months I was blogging. So it took off huge, and we've had people tweeting links to it from a whole bunch of different actual journals. I think American Society of Naturalists. I think it's Naturalists. Maybe I'm wrong. They were tweeting about it, and we've had Systematic Biology, I think, tweeting about it. So it seems to have caught on, and we've had a great group of people get together and talk about the first paper on Tuesday evening. And like I said, you can check it out at the website there.
Sounds
yeah,
good.
so we met for the first time online Tuesday, and we had a full house. Google Hangouts only lets us have 10 people at a time, and we have from master students to postdocs through everything in between, people from 3 different countries at least. So yeah, it was really exciting, and the discussion went great, and I'm really excited to see what happens next time.
You know, it actually raises an interesting point, because you said you tried to start a journal club, and I know, like, every place I've ever been, journal clubs have either been a fizzle or, you know, there's 3 people in a room, 2 of whom haven't read the paper. So why do you think the online version did so well when most in real life ones are just a complete failure?
I think it's just a broader pool of candidates to join. So, I mean, if you're at a university, I mean, in my department or whatever, we're a very diverse department with people studying a bunch of different things. There's just not going to be as many people to draw from to meet on a single topic, perhaps. Whereas if we're putting it out there through social media and we're able to market it, we can hit, the 1 or 2 people that would be interested at, 10, 15, 20 different universities around the world. So.
And people that are already engaged in social media and science, there are people that are already showing this interest in talking about these things and engaging in conversation. So it's not only a really broad pool, but it's a really, biased pool in the sense that it's people that are really excited about this kind of stuff and want to talk about it. So I hope it catches on, because like a lot of these things kind of start really big and then slowly fade. But I think people's response to the first meeting was really, really positive, and everyone's excited to do it again. So it should be good.
Here's a final question on the topic for you guys. Do you think that there's any chance that something like this could go from consuming research to producing it?
I totally think so. I mean, I bet if we aimed at it and we kept a more central theme, like we did, a month's worth of papers, 4 weeks worth of papers that were all around the central theme, I can see us coming out with a review on the topic in some way, coming from that. I've heard of other journal clubs who have done similar things, where they've talked about issues and then throughout the discussion of the paper, they've come up with counterpoints or notes on their own. So I don't see why it should be any different here. It'll be a little more complicated, perhaps, dealing with it, all online, rather than, sending things back and forth across the department or walking down for a coffee, like you might be able to do in person. But in today's day and age, I don't see why it shouldn't be possible.
So one of the things that's happened since we were gone was that, well, half the podcast was in Sweden for ISBE, which explains why we haven't recorded in a while. And of those people, that was me and Raphael who were there. Yeah.
But yeah, the quality, the talks were really good, and the poster sessions the posters were nice. The poster sessions were a bit busy and not that well illuminated, but
yeah, the poster sessions were a disaster. Let's be honest.
Yeah, they were.
Let's not sugarcoat that. They were terrible. But
yeah, I've never seen a poster session so cramped and poorly illuminated and spread out. It was like 5-6 different small rooms, so it was like all over the place. It was really hard to network and interact with people, so it was kind of weird.
It was worse too because there was one poster session upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Like one part of the poster session was up there, and I'm pretty sure not a lot of people went to that one.
Yeah.
And then all the main floor ones separated into 2 rooms were everything was just so packed close together that you couldn't actually get through the rows to go to the posters. I'd be sitting on the end of a row looking at a poster I wanted to go to, and I couldn't reach it. Like,
yeah.
There wasn't actually, like you said, any particular dominant theme, but there were some patterns. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff about personality.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff about personality. Every second talk I went to had great tits in it.
Oh, wow.
Every time somebody snickers on that. And every time in the audience I heard somebody snicker too. Damn it. It's a bird, people.
How many people were there? Like, was it a big meeting? Or, well, this number will probably vary. I'm used to having big meetings being like 300 people in my discipline. But
yeah, I think I heard something of 2,000, but am I making this up?
Geez.
I did a rough estimate just based on like the number of abstracts and number of talks, and I think I put it somewhere around 1,500. Where you hold the conference can have a serious impact.
Mm-hmm.
I know the last ISB drew some criticism because it was in Australia. And people felt it was just too far to go to get to.
Yeah.
But
Did you go to that one?
Yeah, actually I did. And I can say a big hearty fuck you to all those people because now I have to fly the other direction. So,
You're doing it wrong, Stephen. You're just doing it wrong.
Well, you were interacting with it because of something that I was actually really excited about when we were there, which was that there was a healthy social media component to this one. There's a lot of tweeting going on, more so than I knew at the time, since Twitter wouldn't let me see all the people who were tweeting in the hashtag. But what did you get a good feeling for the conference from outside it?
I did keep a track, and I especially watched your guys' 2 postings about it. And it did seem interesting. I mean, it's not necessarily something that I would see my research at right now, but it's very cool to be able to see these conferences that I wouldn't necessarily be going to or have the chance or funding to go to something that's not necessarily so related. I still get a window into what's going on and the research that's being talked about. So in that regard, it was awesome.
I also wonder about how we present it. I know that when I was tweeting ISBE, and from the tweets I saw from Evolution and so on, there's a definite pattern to it where researchers are going to talks and they're tweeting about the talks basically for other researchers, right? And okay, so this is the cool thing that happened at this talk. You might want to know about this. But there is another component to it. I mean, we get paid usually by the public in some form or another to produce science, and part of that is conferences. Do you think that social media can or should be used to kind of open up the conferences to the public to try and increase their engagement with these things?
I think you could do it, and I think it'd be worthwhile. Not only to give people a sense of what's going on at the conference, like the research that's being presented, but also how the conferences may be run. I don't know whether people would know how, like, what goes on. I mean, it's pretty second nature for us that run between talks and you talk to people in the hallway, and that's where you get your work done and collaborations and stuff like that. But I don't know how other people might think of these conferences, whether it's just a whole bunch of formal scientists sitting down, acting all orderly and asking polite questions, or whether they think it's all spirited debate all the time. I'm not sure. So I think that in that regard, just getting rid of this ideas, these preconceptions about what a scientist is and what scientific meetings are like. It's not just Einstein sitting down over, coffee or having people scream back and forth at their crazy ideas. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be. It's true, I guess. Were you the Einstein or were you the crazy screaming? I don't know.
Well, I was the crazy guy screaming at the front of the room.
Oh, okay. About great tits and viruses and why no one will listen to you.
Yes. That's what I was doing.
That's why the screaming. So yeah, I think there's a lot of room that we can use to blow the doors open a little bit and share these relatively exclusive kind of clubs with a broader spectrum of people.
Yeah, I wonder how societies and meetings at large would be receptive to that, because it's funny how you have like this divide now where you have like either scientists are super engaged or they think this is a complete waste of time. Yeah. You don't really have people in the middle that are like, well, I don't do it that much, but I appreciate it. You don't really get that much. So kind of related to that, did you go to the society board meeting at the conference at SV?
No, I didn't.
So someone brought up there, they were talking about, in these board meetings, they always talk about ways to broaden the presence of the society and get people more engaged and get more members and stuff.
Sorry. That's a little thirsty. Go on.
So someone brought up, this doesn't relate necessarily to Twitter, but someone brought up
Sorry.
that they had been at a meeting where there was like a really broad media engagement. So they had media booths and they had reporters talking to scientists and things like that. And that helped, the society at an outreach level, which is what we're talking about, I guess. And, someone proposed, maybe we should do this in our meetings. But then, like, really fast, someone got up and said, well, we experimented with that in the past and that didn't go so well because we have reporters talking about results that aren't published yet and people will have problems publishing them afterwards because some journals have problem with that. So I've heard the same thing about tweeting talks, where like, well, you're tweeting something that, you're promoting something that is not published yet. And I'm like, you realize you're making a public presentation of this, right? Like, what's the difference? But a lot of people, it goes to show how reluctant people are, to the point where someone says, let's get the media here and get people engaged and promote the society and promote the research that we're doing. And you have people coming up and saying, no, we got to be secretive about this because it might come back and bite us afterwards. So,
when I was
I don't know, maybe
blogging,
it's really naive of me, but I think it's really weird.
I agree with you, Raphael. I've never understood people saying don't share this unpublished science when they're, giving a talk that anybody who, if they just paid the $100, $200 to get into the room, it's the exact same thing. Like, is this some exclusive confidentiality agreement that I gave you with my $100 check? I don't think so. I never said I wasn't going to talk about this. So you never know how these things are going to pay off down the road. So I agree with Raphael. Yeah. I don't know why people would seem that this is some big taboo thing that you're sharing other people's unpublished results.
Well, I really hope that that's not true, because if it is, then, well, I'm screwed. I blogged about making my poster for the GSA and the talk for the ISBE, both of which are on research I'm submitting today. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So if
Nobody got you yesterday.
well, I was thinking the same thing when I was doing these posts, which was, this is a public venue I'm presenting at, so I'm already putting it out there. Why shouldn't I put it on my blog and make it even more accessible?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't thinking, oh my God, you know, now the journal isn't going to take it, which I really hope that isn't a problem.
Well, you let us know in a couple of weeks.
yeah, thanks. I'll be the guinea pig. Watch for my failures. Oh, dear God.
So sticking to the theme of social engagement and science online, you're involved in something related to that, right, Steve, recently?
Yeah, I participated in an online science outreach event in Australia called I'm a Scientist, Get Me Out of Here, which I know, it's kind of a ludicrous title, but it's supposed to be modeled on a, you know, Survivor-type reality concept where scientists engage with students in classrooms, and then the students vote on the scientists, and they get progressively booted off the island until there's one left. And so it's actually quite a good event.
So you like answer people's students' questions and things like that, and then they decide who they like the best?
Yeah, so it proceeds in two ways. The students ask questions on the website, which the scientists then answer. So the questions can be targeted to everyone in your zone. If the scientists are split up into zones. I was in the disease zone. The question,
Like a little leper colony? I don't know.
Yeah. We all have social diseases.
Put those guys over there.
Can't tell you guys anything. No. So, yeah, they ask questions, and then we answer them. And we also did chats with the classes. So they would come in and we'd do live chats with them, which was cool. I mean, it's a way of reaching classes all across Australia, which wouldn't normally have happened. The event had a few hiccups. If you were following what I was writing about it, there was a problem where two of the scientists in my zone were actually creationists.
Oh, Jesus Christ, really?
Yeah.
No pun intended, but yeah.
Yeah, and one of them was actually pretty vocal about it. A lot of the chats I was in, students were asking, normal questions like, what is evolution, or, is evolution true? Which you expect from that age. And
What
this
age
is mostly...
group, sorry, what age groups were you talking to?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was mostly junior high to high school.
So
Like 7 to 12.
Okay.
Grade 7 to 12, I should say.
Grade 7 to 12, yeah.
Yeah. So some high school students...
So 15
it was
to
a big mix.
17 or 12 to 17 years old.
About that, yeah. And then, so one of the scientists in my zone was saying things like, oh, well, Darwin was wrong, and we didn't evolve from monkeys, and, well, we didn't, but, that's another story.
Trouble.
So, and I ended up mixing it up with her, which I know.
Yes. Good job.
And I had a very long talk with the organizers about this behind the scenes, because a lot of people won't agree with this decision, but when this started happening, I actually wrote to them and said, I'm gonna rebut the comments made by this one person, Soon. Soon is her name. And then I'm going to withdraw from the competition, because I don't think that these things have any place in an educational forum. I think you guys should have policies which say that creationism isn't a legitimate topic for this. So I ended up not withdrawing, mostly because it turned out there was more creationism going around than we thought, and we needed kind of a counterbalance.
Wow.
to their credit, the organizers, like, they took it seriously, right? They realized that something went wrong, and they're going to look at how to change it for the future. But it was a really weird experience in some ways. I mean, the arguments I was facing were stuff from the 18th century, like that are still going around. So it was kind of eye-opening to see what the current state of the art is. And I can report to you it's not good.
Yeah.
It's still the watchmaker argument.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what else is it going to be? But
well, yeah. I know.
So how did the students respond to this, though? That's the important part. Like, it's one thing for us to sit here and kind of mock this creationist attitude and why that was even allowed. But what did the students have any feedback saying you're full of shit, or did they kind of latch on to your guys' logical, wait a minute, this is science, not religion, that we're supposed to be talking about?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good question. I don't actually know. I didn't get a lot of direct feedback from the students because the structure of the competition didn't really allow for that. So the chats were fairly brief. They were about a half hour. And so the topic didn't really come up directly there. And then the thread that we were doing in one of the questions between Soon and I got really long. But the students weren't responding to that directly. So I don't know if they were reading it. I don't know if they responded to it. I'd be kind of surprised if they read the whole thing, frankly. It was massive.
Yeah,
it became more of a conversation between the two of you then. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I tried to avoid that, but there was only so much I could do. Like, in order to respond to these, you have to write. And, but I'm convinced that doesn't actually do any good because none of the kids is going to sit down and read that whole thing. Like,
you did. I'm going to comment here that you did an awesome job explaining it. I did go through and I read the whole thread, the main thread of where you and Soon threw down. And short of the little drop mic at the end of it, you pretty much nailed it. And I think it was written in a way that everybody could understand, or I would assume that most people could understand.
There's an open issue here, which is that I take the position that because it was an educational forum that this shouldn't have happened. Right? It shouldn't have happened to start with. But the organizers take a different view, which is that by my responding to it, I was modeling critical thinking for the kids, and that they were going to learn more from this than if I just withdrew from the competition. What do you guys think?
I can sort of see what they mean in that regard, but I think that there's going to be so much bias going into it that if they had any previous exposure to the creationist viewpoints, they may not even be able to take your critical view on that. Whereas if that hadn't come up at all, they may have been more likely to feed in and listen to what you were saying, rather than just defaulting to this other scientific authority, who's spouting something that they've already been told before. But I don't know. I guess I can see pros and cons to both ends of it, I guess.
I kind of agree with the idea that, if the kids see you guys engaging, it could help them develop critical thinking. But it goes back to what you were saying about, well, okay, but do we think they are actually reading this whole discussion? Is this going completely off board, and is this something that they're actually engaging with, or are they just, I'm not going to read this really long thing, which is, a valid response, I guess, when you're a 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
One of the main reasons that I was proposing to withdraw is because in some ways my position on this seems a little petulant, right? Like, oh, you said something I don't like, I'm just going to take my ball and go home. But this has precedent. I mean, in science classrooms, when they've tried to introduce creationism before, teachers have refused to present it. The Dover trial is a great example of that, where the teachers were just asked to read a statement saying, "Oh well, evolution has gaps, and here's a creationist book for you to read, and they refused to do it. And the school board members involved resigned rather than doing this, because when you present it in an educational forum, you make it look like there is a debate here, like there's another side to this, when there really isn't.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a hard position to stick to, but it's the thinking behind why I was, considering withdrawing. Not just because, I don't like creationists and I want to go home, which it may seem like, but...
Yeah.
I
it makes
understand.
sense. And I think you did a good job sticking it out and providing what turned out to be pretty much the sole voice of reason along in that line. But
well, they did.
I
They
think
did get
you
a few other people to show up and take a hand in it too, which was nice. But in truth,
No,
I
I
would
saw
have
you.
loved if they could have, shown the real balance, which was that, 99.9% of scientists accept this, not just me and a couple other guys.
Yeah, you did unfortunately get weighed down a little bit under the numbers there, but
Although,
it's unfortunate.
along that line,
Small.
I have to report now that due to my involvement in this, I am now a member of Project Steve. So,
What's
there you
Project
go.
Steve?
Project Steve is an initiative of the NCSE in the United States, the National Center for Science Education. It's this parody because the NCSE keeps getting requests. They go into school classrooms and they fight against creationism and climate change denial and such. And they keep getting comments from creationists. Well, we have this list of 20 scientists who don't believe in evolution. And so they keep getting questions saying, oh, well, is there a list of scientists who do believe in evolution? And they keep saying, well, that's a really stupid thing to do. Like, it doesn't proceed by lists. We do the scientific method, we get evidence, and you guys just want a list of people. But
Science is not a democracy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But in order to parody this, they actually decided to have some fun with it. So they created a list of just scientists named Steve, or Stephen, or Stefan, who believe in evolution.
That's
And
brilliant.
This was actually, in part, it's an homage to Stephen Jay Gould. But so now I'm number 1227 on the list. So there's over 1,200 scientists
Steve.
named Steve who believe in evolution, and I'm one of them.
That's pretty slick.
Yeah, I was thinking during this debate about that list, and I thought, well, wait a minute, why am I not on it? What the hell am I waiting
I
for?
qualify.
I got a PhD in evolutionary biology. I'm named
And most
Steve.
importantly, you're Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm Steve in, but to hell with it.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Close enough. So,
So,
when you joined it, you had that interesting little factoid about who was kind of hanging out near you on the long list of alphabetized names.
Yeah. Turns out I'm just a few entries away from Stephen Hawking, which is
Nice.
probably the only time I'm ever going to be that close to him in a scientific.
In the list, yeah.
I mean, I like to think that now I'm so important that I'm rolling with Hawking, but I guess I really shouldn't say rolling with Hawking, but it seems all insensitive.
Oh!
There's our
gee.
politically correct comment of the day.
Hey, I hear he has a good sense of humor.
I'm sure he does.
I sure hope so. He's probably going to come run me over with his wheelchair.
Yeah.
So, how did your scientist survivor experience end up? Did you get kicked out of the island already, or are you still competing?
No, actually, it's over.
Okay.
I came in second in my zone.
Good job.
Sadly, I lost to the other creationist.
Oh.
The less outspoken of the two, though, was it not?
Yeah. I mean, she said a few things about it, but for the most part, she was more restrained on the topic. I was destined to lose, right? Because, for one thing, she's very outgoing, and she was engaging with the kids really well. But she was also researching this diet pill, which in every chat it was, like there was a ratio of like 3-to-1 in terms of questions from her and other people. We'd get the occasional question, then it was back to the diet pill. They were disturbingly into it, especially the girls' schools, which actually really, it kind of bugged me, truthfully. Like not her. The research doesn't bother me.
The response to it.
The fact that girls from 12 to 17 are so fascinated with the diet pill, and I just found that a sad commentary, truthfully. Yeah, I was going to lose from the get-go. That's okay though. It was a good time, and I'm happy that they're doing that sort of outreach to try and change the perception of scientists for kids. So, it's actually quite big in the UK too. This is the Australian version I was participating in, but it actually started in the UK, and it's quite big there apparently. So who knows? Maybe it'll come to the US next.
Yeah, it'll make Fox News, I'm sure.
Well, I'm just waiting for Raphael to be participating.
Yeah.
You can talk about birds, damn it.
All the time. You know what's really good about evolution? Bird coloration.
Well, the birds are actually dinosaurs is going to win any child's heart, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. And, of course, you're kind of screwing with kids now, though. I mean, feathered dinosaurs,
Yeah, well, yeah.
Who knows? Maybe these kids grew up with feathered dinosaurs. I mean, it's us literal, old school dinosaurs that didn't have feathered dinosaurs. Maybe feathered dinosaurs is the new norm for kids growing up. They look back at these stupid old folks.
Did you see the XKCD comic about this, where there was there's a kid reading a book about feathered dinosaurs, and an adult comes and he's like, oh, back in my day, dinosaurs were badass, and now they're all goofy with feathers and shit. And the kid is he's saying like, well, I'm reading here about how the velociraptor used his feathers to maintain equilibrium on top of his prey while he delacerates it with his, claws. And so then, the strip ends with the adult reading the book, but they're still badass. And the other day I went with a class bird watching, and so it was me and then this other student who was the actual TA of the class. And when we were driving back home with the students, back to the university with the students, he turned to them and said, well, now you can all go home and tell everyone that you went out dinosaur hunting. And I was like, why have I not thought of that before? That's genius. That's awesome. So I'm going to use that all the time now.
Tricking kids for fun and profit?
Yes.
I wonder, you said, Morgan, that, people didn't grow up, like we didn't grow up with feathered dinosaurs, maybe they are now. Have you seen any kids' books? Like, are they actually, is this, percolating down to the literature they'd be reading on this?
I may be married, but I don't have kids, and I don't really interact with many kids, so I'm the least likely person to talk on this. So
I do not have an ice cream van.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to hell with you then.
I don't know. I can inquire with some people I know that have kids and report back to you, but I don't really know. That's a good question.
All right, Morgan, you're on this.
That's my homework. Is I have to figure out whether kids these days have feathered dinosaurs in their kids' books. Okay.
You're going to be our reporter in the field. I expect a video clip of you standing awkwardly in a classroom interviewing a smart dog.
With like little 4- and 5-year-olds asking if they have feathered dinosaurs. This is going to go great. So when I don't show up next week, you know where I'm going to be.
In prison? Yeah. Hey, look, I'm married to a teacher, dude, and she teaches elementary school, so I've been there, right? She had me.
So why are you asking Morgan to do this field work?
Because I want somebody else to experience my pain. Damn it!
All right.
Yeah. Look, I've been the guy wandering around in elementary school carrying a camera, so Yeah. She
That's
says,
really
"Oh,
good.
I need pictures of the school Christmas concert." So there I am, the white guy nobody's seen before, walking around carrying the camera, taking pictures of people's kids. I am
Brilliant.
amazed. I did not get.
You left a
strip
trench coat at home that day, right?
searched. Yeah. I was considering the handlebar mustache, maybe, but
Big pocket full of candy, I'm sure.
just walk around holding the camera and a lolly. Well, that's
Anyways,
a good note
I
to
will
wrap it
find
up
out.
on,
Yeah,
Yep.
because I got to get to work here.
sounds good.
Sounds
You
good.
lazy bastards get to go home and sleep or something, but I'm just starting.
It's only 6:30. I'm going home to work.
All right, well then.
On
So
that
anyways,
sad note,
yeah, on that. Yeah. Wah, wah. All right, well, thank you, both of you, Morgan and Raphael, for joining me.
Yep.
And this was the 5th episode of the Breaking Vinyl podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.
see you later.